You've probably heard me talking about this self-sufficient living skills bundle that's been going on. And I have been spending the last week flipping through so many of the incredible resources within this bundle. Now, I will say there's a lot. There's over 118 different ebooks and courses and lessons sharing incredible wisdom and knowledge with you so you can live off the land and you don't have to rely on this corrupt and broken system for everything for your family. Anyways, I wanted to share some of my favorite things. One, first off, is off-grid homeopathy. This course is loaded with so much incredible knowledge, talking about homeopathy for first aid, for colds and flu, how to make your own homeopathic remedies. Like, as an herbalist who loves to teach that stuff, that's pretty exciting to hear it in the homeopathy realm. There's also some incredible fermentation guides, so many other amazing herbal recipes and food recipes, and how to make your own sourdough bread, how to do your own organic gardening and canning of all of your foods. Really, there is so much. And yes, I know. I've talked about it a ton, but this entire bundle is only $50 right now until Sunday, March 24th. I'm sharing my herbal first aid skills, which is a course that's $47 on its own. I'm sharing recipes that I used when I got my products into REI for herbal first aid kits and so much more. You'll have to check it out. I'm serious. Like, you can absolutely change your life with this bundle. So there is a link in the show notes for you, and I hope you check it out. I hope you take advantage. Don't worry, you don't have to go through everything right away. You can access everything for up to a year. Once you're in the course or have the download, it's yours for life. It is a steal of a deal. Okay, self-sufficient living skills bundle in the links for you.
Basically, I think fundamentally what I feel is that herbalism is all of our heritage, right? Like, we all have ancestors. Every single one of us have ancestors that use plants, that were herbalists. Herbalism is like the first medicine, right? And so I would say to trust that, like, go with that belief and that feeling of like, it's your birthright, to use herbs and to learn about those. And so if it feels, if you feel drawn, like, yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. I love that. That's beautiful.
Welcome to the Herbalist's Path, where we're on a mission to inspire a movement where there's an herbalist in every home. Again, with your host, clinical herbalist, Melissa Mutterspaugh.
Welcome back to another episode of the Herbalist Path. I am really excited to have my guest today, Elaine Sheff. She is the co-director of the Green Path Herb School in Missoula, Montana. It's a school I've looked to for many years because I love Montana. She really has this space where people can connect with the plants and look at them. And now she's online. I'm also really excited because I've tried to have this interview with Elaine at least 2 times, 2.5. This is the 3rd time, but there's always been some major natural storm or something in my community cutting out my power and my internet. So we're finally able to connect. And Elaine is doing amazing things in the herbal world. She's run her own herbal products business. She's run a place where her community can come together and learn about herbal medicine and get herbal medicine, and really has done amazing things with her husband, John. And now they're bringing their learning online. She's the author of an incredible book about herbal skincare. It's called Naked. If you haven't gotten it into your hands yet, you certainly should. And gosh, Elaine's done a lot. She's taught a lot of places. She's been doing this for over 30 years, and it's an absolute honor to have you on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Mel.
Yeah.
It's exciting to be here. I'm glad we finally got it to work.
I know. I felt so bad each time I had to cancel. I'm like, this lady is going to think I'm the biggest flake. And then there was one time where I misunderstood her request for a schedule. And I'm like, where are you? And she was like, no, that was February. So I'm really happy to finally get this going. So 30 years of being in the beautiful world of herbalism.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, like, my entire adult life, that's what I have done is herbal medicine. And I feel so fortunate, and just so grateful to have found that calling so early in my life, and just to have had the honor and the ability to do that for my living. It's just like a dream come true. I say I have the best job in the entire world. And for me, it is like, literally, I could not imagine a better job. I just absolutely adore working with herbs and working with people, and like fundamentally empowering people to use herbal medicine. Helping us reconnect is just like my passion. So
yeah. I can so relate. That's so beautiful because it's so important. We all need it so badly, especially now. Our world is hurting. The more we can bring people into connection with nature and this earth and these plants, the more opportunity we have to actually do some work to heal our planet and ourselves.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I really love it. I can't wait to hear more of your story and share it with everybody, because you've done like darn near everything there is to do in the world of being an herbalist, from like making a product line to working as a clinician to being an educator, both in the field and in person and online now, and an author, and you grow your own herbs. Like, so cool. How did it start? Where did your path start?
So, I mean, it started when I was a teenager, and I had grown up with a mom who was very interested in natural remedies and gardening. And so I had been raised really like with organic foods when they were just not at all popular, and recycling. My mom was a huge into compost and, whatever. So she did her master's thesis on environmental composting, awesome. So I had this beautiful opportunity to really like immerse in that very young. And then what really got me hooked, just so passionate, was I had a dog. When I was 19, I found this stray dog and I adored her. She was just like I loved her. And I found her, she was sick, and it turned out she had mange. She had demodectic mange. And so I was poor and I was on my own, and I had this sweet dog that was super sick, and I would invest. And for me at the time, it was a lot of money to take her to the vet. Right. And every time I took her, she would get sick. Like, it would help her for a little while, and then she'd end up getting really sick again. And literally, like, she lost all her fur on her face. She had pus everywhere. She looked like hamburger, like she was really sick. And I started just watching and going, like, every time I take her to the vet, like, there's this rebound, and then she ends up just being just as sick, if not more sick. And so I started thinking, like, what else can I do? There's got to be something else. And so I started experimenting with herbs with her, and sure enough, she got better. And she lived for like 17 years. I had her, and we were together. So she was like my inspiration. She was my herbal muse, if you will. And I was just hooked. After that, I was like, this is what I want to do. I went to college. I got a degree in environmental conservation and a minor in women's studies. And before I graduated, I was working at an herb manufacturing company. I was making tinctures. And right after I graduated, I went to my first herb school in Boulder, Colorado. And then went on to study with Michael Moore down in Albuquerque, where he was at the time. And that was it. I was just, I knew that's what I want to do forever.
I think
I love it.
It's so amazing when you get in that world of herbalism, and you're like, that's it. Because it happened for me. I went to the Brighton Bush Herbal Conference And I kind of went on a whim. I had this curiosity and I'd been dabbling in buying books and such. And I went to that conference and I was like, that's what I'm doing. Like, that is my calling. And it's such a long journey. And that's what's kind of beautiful about it, I think. And I love your connection to the dog thing, because I have 3 doggies, and my oldest just turned 15 in March. And he's been amazing and healthy his whole life, and started getting kind of sick in October. And things started going downhill quickly. I took him to the vet, and on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I spent the whole day crying because he couldn't walk and couldn't get up and was falling over. And it was really sad for me. I was the first human to touch him. We were really, really connected. And I quickly changed his diet and brought some herbs on. And he just had his 15th birthday, March 5th. So, and he's doing great, and he goes on walks with us, and he is really looking fantastic. And it makes me so grateful that, you know, I'd like to say that the herbs chose me to go down their path and use them. And that, like, I didn't really know much about pets and herbs, like a little bit, you know, but I went with my intuition on what I know about herbs, and seemed to work quite fine. So pretty cool. Yeah. When you went to Colorado, was that Paul Bergner's school, or?
It was Feather Jones. So,
okay.
At Rocky Mountain Center for Botanical Studies.
Yeah.
It was before Paul was involved.
Awesome.
But she brought so many amazing herbalists, and it was great to have such a amazing, diverse experience with so many different folks, and some wonderful local herbalists, Brigitte Mars, Stephen Buhner, just some really great, Catherine Hunziker,
she's so
Ann Drucker, just really some fabulous herbalists, and then all kinds of people coming through that were just phenomenal, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
James Green, on and on. David Winston, lots of different, and some just amazing folks traveling through and teaching. So
that's awesome. I unfortunately wasn't on the path when Michael was still around, but have learned from a lot of people that have been under his teachings. So the following of him and his teachings is really, really grand. And it's funny you say Feather Jones, because just this morning on Facebook, my friend recommendations were like, Feather Jones. So it's just odd the way that happens. Sounds like some really, really brilliant people. And I think that's what's wonderful about herbs is in the world of herbalism, because I truly believe that the more people you get to learn from, the better herbalist you become. And of course, the plants as well that you need to learn from. And I've been watching as your online school has been developing, and you've done a phenomenal job of bringing on really, really brilliant people to your school. And your school is called Green Path Herb School. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on with Green Path? Because you have learned from brilliant people and are now bringing together even more brilliant people.
Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. Medicinal mushrooms are all the rage these days, if you didn't know already. And with great reason, because they are powerful medicine that can improve your health and your life in so many different ways when they're well made. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of stuff on the market that isn't going to be so effective. And that's why you need to find a brand that you can actually trust. For me, that brand is Whole Sun Wellness. And this is the creation of a brilliant woman and fellow mama, Jamie Bonfiglio. She's an international mushroom educator that has been working in the medicinal mushroom industry for years. And this is when she saw firsthand how many other companies take shortcuts when it comes to their products. And Jamie wasn't having it. She set out to build her company the right way. Whole Sun Wellness is here to raise the industry standards so those crap mushrooms on the market aren't getting into your body or your family's body. Whole Sun Wellness is the first company to test and report nutritional facts for all of their extracts. They go beyond industry standards every step of the way, from sourcing to extraction and final testing. And as the owners of the largest medicinal mushroom farm in the United States, Whole Sun Wellness is taking control of their supply chain for the highest quality and absolute full transparency. They're even the first company to include pure mycelium extract in every single product. So when you're thinking of getting medicinal mushrooms for you and your family, Whole Sun Wellness is exactly the ones you want. Also, be sure to check out their new Mycolites. These are the world's first dissolvable electrolyte tablets. They're featuring functional mushroom extracts that'll give you more energy, more stamina, and recovery as well. And who couldn't use all of that? The other thing is they are these adorable little mushroom-shaped tablets, and they come in like a little Altoids box, but way cooler than Altoids because they're Mycolites. Anyways, head to wholesunwellness.com to grab yourself some Mycolites and all of the other functional medicinal mushrooms that you and your family need. And of course, you can grab that link right here in the show notes now.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I totally agree with you. Like, one of the things I love about herbalism is I feel like you never get to the end point where you're like, yeah, I know it. There's always more to learn.
It's
and
so amazing.
I love that. Like, that is just so inspiring to me. So I agree. I'm a teacher, but I'm also always a student, and I love learning from other people. I love going to conferences. I love teaching at conferences and taking classes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I learn from my students, and I learn from our faculty and the plants ultimately. Right. And so I agree. Like, that's one of the things I love about herbalism. There's
me too.
Great things.
There's no room for boredom.
Ever, right?
I was a kid that got bored easily in our normal school system. And so here I'm like never ending fascination. And as you speak about your love in very similar ways that I have, my entire body gets these chills and so much excitement and the biggest cheesy smile on my face. So I love it. It's beautiful.
So Green Path, we started Green Path 8 years ago. And so this is our 8th year of teaching. Before that, we owned Meadow Sweet Herbs, which is an herb store still here in Missoula. For 18 years, we started that business. We manufactured herbal products. It was great. And did a lot of teaching and seeing clients and just working with whoever came in the door, which was such a huge education in and of itself. And then we were just done with that, ready to move on. And so we're above Meadow Sweet Herbs now, which I love. It's still my favorite store in Missoula. And I love that someone else is doing that. And I get to do what I'm just super passionate about, which is teaching herbal medicine. And so we started, and what we wanted to do, the intention. So we had been teaching for I don't even know, 30 years before that, maybe, a long time. And we had done a lot of individual classes. And then we also did what we called, and we still teach this, but Herbal Foundations, which is like a monthly, year-long program, which meets once a month. And so we've been doing that for many, many, many years. And so 8 years ago, we decided we want to start training people who are really interested in being herbalists, who want to be professional herbalists. And that's what they want to do with their lives. And so that was a big step. It was a big step up from what we'd been doing before. And it was and also, as I'm sure you know, Mel, but teaching is also a great way to learn. I have so much teaching, right? And developing material and that kind of thing. And so, 8 years ago, we started teaching people who want to be herbalists. And we also teach people who are still interested in just doing it for their own selves or their families, or they want to add it, like they're chiropractors, or they have nutritionists, or they have some other massage therapist, esthetician, whatever, they have some other healing profession that they already do, and they want to add some herbs into that. So we do that too. But really, the diving deep into herbal medicine, just immersing, getting to do that with other people is just so cool.
Yeah.
So I love it, and it feels like I finally found, I mean, I've always, herbs have been like home, but teaching is like home,
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. It's such an exciting journey and story, and I feel like I have still so much to learn from you. And my partner has been like, "Oh, he really wants to go to Montana. He's a ski bum," and he's like, "I want to go there." And I used to live outside of Glacier, so maybe we'll get to make that trip and come visit you guys. So make it a dual awesome trip. So
That would be fun.
yeah, absolutely. I would love that. All right. So you've got all these years of experience and so many plants and so many teachers and all of these things. I'm going to ask you a really hard question.
Okay.
And that is, if you could choose one herb, what would it be? Whether it's one herb that everybody needs to know or one herb that you would have in your life forever.
Yeah. So that is really, you're right. That's a really hard question.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was joking with my students on Wednesday, and I was saying, because I'm always like, oh, and this is one of my favorite herbs,
Yeah,
and I have like,
and I get all giddy about it.
right. So I have to say that is a really hard question because there's so many, and then I start thinking about, well, are we talking different body systems, or what are we talking about? Anyway, I'm just going to pick, and this is one that I just love calendula.
Yes, my beautiful frangula.
Oh my God. I just love that herb. And one of the things I love about it is it's so accessible. Like it feels like such a friendly plant. It's just so safe and easy to grow and beautiful. And I love the medicine that it makes. I just love being around that plant. So, calendula is great.
I love that. Yeah, she's absolutely one of my favorite friends. I have this beautiful mural that I had one of the young women working at my shop when it was open. She painted it for me. So I'll send you a picture of it.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
It's really gorgeous, and it's got the seeds and all the way down to the roots. It's really beautiful.
The seeds, like just the seeds are just phenomenal, like
yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. I know. I was just finishing up teaching a course also, and in the last module was calendula, and I always have this song that I like to sing because it's one of my absolute favorites, and the song changes each day I'm gathering her or whatever, but she's so bright and sunny and really uplifts the spirit just by being. And she's calendula, you are my friendula, I remember when you are, and then like all dive into whatever is on my mind at the time. And
that's sweet.
My friendula.
I love it.
You could take that.
I think plants love to be sung to. I think.
Oh
yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So what would you teach somebody who's just getting into herbs about calendula and her magnificence?
Yeah. So I would definitely talk to them about growing, right? I mean, it's a very easy plant to grow, super easy. Like for instance, here in Montana, right? We're very northern, and it gets really cold in the winter. It will self-seed. So I have a whole area, my calendula area in my garden, and it will self-seed itself, and it starts growing from its own little seeds like early, right? And it's one of my latest bloomers in my garden. So it just go on and on. You use the flower heads, right? So if you keep picking them, they keep blooming. And I would talk about how to dry it, right? So, and what I do is I just have a big screen in my garage, and I put the fresh flowers on one end, and then as they dry, I kind of move them along to the other side. And then by that time, you want it to be completely dry before you put it in a jar, right? So by that time, they're nice and crisply dry. You can put them in a jar. It's one of those herbs, honestly, that I look at a lot with, like if I go to an herb store, because what you want it to be those colors. You want the calyx to be like green, right? And you want the petals to be orange or yellow. You want it to really look like the flower. Yeah. And so it's kind of one of those that and it's an annual, right? And so it doesn't hold on to that potency for a long, long time. And I think a lot of the calendula flowers I see are like they're okay. But if you grow it in your own garden, or if you get it really freshly dried, it's just phenomenal. I wish I had a picture I could show because it's so beautiful. So I use it as kind of an indicator for quality as well, honestly, to be able to say, does it look like a freshly dried calendula flower? Because that's what I want, right? And then how do we use it medicinally? And one of the things I love about it is so easy. You can make a beautiful oil out of it, or a salve. It's one of my, and it's so gentle. So it's like one of my favorite herbs to use on my babies. When they were little, I would rub them up with the calendula oil, and just super safe and so healing to the skin. And then we can make a great tea out of it. For me, you can make a tincture, but it's a nice water soluble plant. I prefer the tea, and it's good for external use. And then it's wonderful internally as well. And I've used it a lot. We think of the common ways to use it, like it's a good lymphatic, really nice, gentle lymphatic, very healing to the tissues. So it's going to help us kind of tissue repair and things like that. I use it kind of similarly to how I would use comfrey internally, but we don't do that anymore, right? Or at least I don't, because of the pyrolyzing alkaloids, right? One of the things that I love doing with it is using it for women. And I use it a lot for to help resolve tissue, things that are going on in the tissue that we really don't want to be there, like cysts or fibroids or things like that. And so it's like this gentle mover and repairer, very safe. And so that's kind of my favorite way to use it, is like to aid in tissue repair and recovery and resolution, of like masses or cysts or things like that.
Yeah, she is really, as she is gentle, she's also so incredibly powerful. And I love hearing people talk about taking her internally, because I think that when people do start getting into herbalism, they're really excited about what she can do as like a wound healer, an antifungal topically. And she's really so powerful as that wound healer in the gut. And as you were talking about for female body parts as well. And she's such a great lymphatic during, when you need that lymphatic drainage. I love that. She's an amazing plant. Let's talk really quickly about those pyrazidine alkaloids and comfrey, and a little bit about that. Can you share with people a little there?
Sure. So if we look at old herbal information, say 30 years ago or more, people were using comfrey a lot internally, because it's also like an incredible healer, right? It has amazing ability to encourage cell proliferation, cell growth, repair, both internally and externally, and has a really incredible, I think it's like the highest mucilage content of any herb. If I'm correct. Anyway, so comfrey is this amazing herb, and historically we've used it a lot internally, right? So it used to be used for breastfeeding and pregnancy and things like that. And then what we found out is that it's high in this alkaloid, and there's lots of different pyrolyzing alkaloids, but this specific type of pyrolyzing alkaloid that's really damaging to the liver. And long-term damage. It's not like you drink it and you go, oh, my liver, it hurts, or whatever. It's all kind of invisible until you've done a lot of damage. And so kind of this newer information is like, don't use it internally, right? And there are still herbalists who do use it internally. And I've been to conferences where I've seen it honestly like sold still in pregnancy teas and things like that, which was really upsetting to me personally. And I know there's kind of this whole philosophy of some herbalists who still feel like we should be using it internally. That's how we've used it historically. Personally, I feel like the science is indisputable. It is very, very clear that these pyrolyzing alkaloids damage the liver, and we should not be using it internally. Right. So, you can do like a homeopathic remedy of symphytum, which is the botanical name. I love using it topically. I grow it in my garden. I still use it on, topically. And I think it's wonderful for that. I love combining it with calendula, like those two together, but internally I substitute, so And we can think of, a lot of times you can never get exactly the same thing as one plant. But if we combine calendula and some marshmallow together, like I feel like that's a nice, fairly reasonable substitute for comfrey. And so, it's just one of those things that I feel like as a responsible herbalist, I need to be really thoughtful about what I'm suggesting to others, or what I'm teaching about.
Absolutely. I so deeply agree on everything you just talked about there. And that's one of the things that becomes challenging as you are a teacher, is just how much information is out there on Google that is sometimes very damaging information. And the fact that there are so many herbalists out there that may be brilliant herbalists, but still teach to a different tune. And in particular with harmful things like what comfrey can be internally. Why risk it when there are other combinations that you can utilize?
Exactly. I totally agree. It's just not necessary. It's not, our ancestors did that. Great. Awesome. Now we have new information. We can adapt and change,
Absolutely.
That's good too. So,
yeah. And there's so many just great alternatives, and use them. So you talked a little bit about calendula and that beautiful frangula and making an oil or a salve with her and teas with her. If there were like one recipe you would want to share with people listening today, and not necessarily with calendula, any kind of herbal recipe, what would it be?
Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. I love this time of year. It's spring, the sun is shining, and all of our beautiful plant friends are popping up. It's amazing. Unless, of course, you're one of the millions of people who suffer from seasonal allergies. The itchy, watery eyes, the sneezing and wheezing that's straight miserable. Thankfully, there are some amazing herbs that can help you with all of that. Just like the herbs inside of Kick-Ass Allergy from Wish Garden Herbs, one of my absolute favorite herbal companies out there. Kick-Ass Allergy, yes, I said ask without the K at the end. Anyways, this formula has yerba santa, nettles, echinacea for that immune support, and orange peels, all which come together to help dry up those excessive mucosal secretions. Yep, I'm talking about the sniffles and the stuffy nose, the watery eyes, and all that jazz. This blend also acts as a great expectorant and can help ease the swelling and inflammation in those mucosal tissues. It is a top go-to for seasonal allergies. And get this, they combine all those beautiful herbs with glycerin, so it actually tastes pretty darn good. Or should I say, it tastes kick-ass, without the K at the end. Anyways, if allergy season is miserable for you and you want a natural remedy that actually works for those itchy eyes and being all sneezy and wheezy, you have got to check out Wish Garden Herbs Kick-Ass Allergy. And for those of you with the little kiddos, no sweat, they've got a Kick It allergy too. And you pregnant mamas? You don't have to suffer either. They've got a kick-ass allergy formula just for you. So head over to wishgardenherbs.com or check out the link in the show notes and go grab yourself some kick-ass allergy so you can enjoy spring again.
Oh my goodness, off the cuff.
I know.
That's a tough one.
Or just a simple remedy, something that would really help a person who is just beginning to walk down the herbalist path or the green path.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, there's so many, as you know, and I mean, one that comes to mind, but I don't have a recipe right in front of me, is digestive bitters, which I think is just so good for so many people. And, I feel like it's one that as a clinician, I just see myself recommending over and over and over again. So, although I don't have a recipe I can give you at this moment. There's so many good ones out there, right? And so that's one that I love and that I think is super useful for most folks. And then I guess if we keep along with the calendula theme,
Do.
right? That I love just making super simple calendula oil. And I actually just this week was teaching my students about making oils and salves. And we were talking about like, this is a fundamental skill for an herbalist to have, is to know how to make an herbal oil or make an herbal salve from an herbal oil, right? So an herb infused oil, we're not talking about an essential oil, which sometimes is confusing for folks.
Right.
A lot of times I'll see folks who are interested in herbalism and they're making an oil, but they're maybe either not using the best, freshest herbs. For calendula, I always use dry, but like freshly dried, like really high quality, or maybe not high quality fixed oils, or they're not combining it together in a way that's very successful or that's going to make a really potent oil. So personally, I'm really all about like, whatever I'm going to make, if I'm going to use those plants, I want it to be the most stupendous herbal product that it can be. And to me, that means it's all about the quality of the plant and whatever else you're using with it. So yeah. So for example, for herbal oils, I feel like it's really important to have really good quality herbs and really good quality fixed oil, you know? So my personal favorite is extra virgin olive oil. And because it's so good for the skin already. It's such a great oil for the skin because it's cold pressed. It hasn't been exposed to heat, right? So we know heat makes oils go rancid quicker. And so if we want it to stay stable longer, you know, so anyway, and then combining that really nicely with like, and what I use, and I learned this from Michael Moore, is like a alcohol intermediate. So I'll spray my calendula with just a little bit of ethyl alcohol. I just put it in a spray bottle, spray, mix. I actually have a video of this on our YouTube channel of making calendula oil. And it's like 5 minutes or something like that, but you guys could check that out if you want. Yeah. And I show the alcohol intermediate and then grinding it up, and it's really light and fluffy. So it's a little challenging to grind it. But what I like to do is use a lot of herb and kind of just have the oil cover it, but ground up, right? That's really important. Don't put it in there whole and just let it sit. You know, grind it up so it's small. You have more surface area. You can really extract the plant better that way. And then preserve it with a little bit of natural vitamin E oil is a really nice way to do that. So I use about a teaspoon per quart of oil. So yeah, so in a nutshell, there's one that's, you know, I don't know, maybe helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Super helpful.
Wow, what a great chunk of knowledge we just heard. I love learning new things, especially better ways to take care of myself and my family. But if you're like me, I love the knowledge, but I'm often too busy to put it into practice, making my own salves and teas and such. Thank goodness, the lovely folks over at Mountain Mills are already doing it for me. Their herbal teas support my mind, body, and soul, and they taste great too. And their line of outdoor essential products supports my family's outdoor fun and quickens our recovery afterwards when we overdo it. So hop on over to mountainmells.com and use the code THP15 at checkout to receive a 15% discount, especially for listeners of the Herbalist's Path. That's THP15 for 15% off your order of delicious goodness today.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, based upon the fact that I'm looking at you now, and I know you've been doing herbalism for a minimum of 30 years, that you use calendula on your facial skin, because you look fantastic for somebody that's been using herbs for that long. I'm going to say,
thanks.
and I'm going to think this is a fantastic segue into your book, Naked, All About Herbal Skincare.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thanks. I was telling Mel before we started the video that I'm always shy about like talking about like promoting myself. I guess it's challenging for me. So I wrote a book. I wrote a book, Naked. It's about the skin, which is our largest organ in our body, right? And the organ that interfaces with our environment, with everything else. And so it's actually a really important organ system. When I owned Meadow Sweet Herbs, I researched every single product we carried in that store. And I researched all of our body care products. And what I found is so many natural body care products like have crappy ingredients, natural body care products, right?
Yes.
And it just drove me crazy. So people would buy things, and not at our store, but at like our local health food store, there's all kinds of products on the shelves that I would never want to put on my skin or on my baby's skin, right? Or on anyone's skin.
Yeah.
And so I spent years and years and years sorting through different products and saying yes or no, and this is why, right? And along that way, I started making a lot of my own body care products. And we had all kinds of fun ingredients so that people could make their own body care products when they came into the store. So everything you would need to like do that yourself, really, And so out of that came my book, Naked, and Naked, and Donna Chestner, who is Michael Moore's partner, thought of that name. She gave me that name, which is just so sweet. But this idea that it's your skin, and really, what are you gonna put on? It's a digestive organ. Like, what are you gonna put on it? A lot of those things penetrate deeper into the body. And so it's actually quite important what we put on our skin. And so that's was my inspiration. And I was telling Mel earlier, I wrote this book. I had 2 little boys, and I would get up at 5 a.m. every morning and write for like 2 hours to write my book. And so it was a real labor of love, and it was hard. It was a lot of work. And I even now, like I look at it, I go, I wrote that. I did that at a time where I was a mom of 2 little kids, and one who was having a lot of health issues. And it kind of in some ways got me through having that goal, that project at that time in my life. And so it really is, I'm very proud of it, but it also, I feel kind of like shy about it. And so it's not something I don't talk about very much. I don't really promote it very much. And but I do feel it's really sweet. And, the feeling of it for me is very loving. Like if you read it, it's full of love, for and encouragement. And what I did too is I wrote a lot about different ways people can do it themselves. So the recipes are like, you can change all of them and like adjust them for your skin type or for what you have on hand or whatever it is. And I like that too, because it's really about empowering people.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. I love, first of all. So that's really good to have there. And I love that you talk about how fun it is, because you had so much fun with the ingredients in your shop and people could create also. And I so agree that when you start learning about these plants, the world is endless in ways that you can get creative to make things specific for yourself. And that is indeed so incredibly empowering. And being somebody who completely understands where you're coming from in the realm of shy, I just have to say that what you have offered the world through your book and through your knowledge and your wisdom is an absolute gift. And yes, I know you're proud of it, but be proud to shout it out too, because we need it. We all need what you've created. And I think it's beautiful. I don't have the book in my own hands yet, but just by listening to you and hearing from you and how brilliant and knowledgeable you are and passionate you are about sharing that knowledge, I can only imagine how amazing the book is. And I can't wait to get it in my hands. So
thank you.
Thank you for putting all of that work and energy into it. I think it's really beautiful. Other than your book, Naked, what's like the book you think all beginning herbalists should have?
Well, I have to say my very favorite are Michael Moore's books.
Yeah.
They are, like everyone should, if you're into herbs, you should own those books. trying to remember the titles, which are not in the forefront of my head, but there's one for the desert. They're all Western herbs, but there's and Rocky Mountain kind of thing. So there's the Mountain West, there's the Desert West, and there's the Pacific West, I believe. And, I honestly feel like Michael Moore was a genius. Like he knew herbs like no one I have ever known, and to be able to study with him I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity. But he has had such a sense of humor and such a deep knowledge of the plants. And it really comes through in his books, like his humor is there, which was delightful. Like I have to say, I adored him. He was such an amazing, we lost him way too soon, but, and he has also this incredible insight, and so anyway, if you don't have those books and you're interested in herbs, you can't go wrong there.
Yeah. I have his medicinal plants of the Mountain West and of the Pacific West. I don't have the desert one yet. And I agree. They're great. They're so wonderful to take out in the field. I missed out on the opportunity of learning with Michael, but so many of my teachers and colleagues in this herbal world speak so outrageously highly of him. And I remember the first live herb school I invested in, that particular teacher, like every time he would say something and he would say like, and Michael Moore, and he would just stop at this like, oh, moment every time. And I was like, what do you mean? And I had no idea really at that point in time. And now I like see it everywhere and I'm like, oh, I get it. So that's really great. I love that. So speaking of great teachers and things like that, I've loved listening to you just talk and speak passionately, which is in turn teaching people listening to this podcast. And I know you have some really cool programs coming up this summer in Montana, and Montana is one of my favorite states because it's absolutely incredible. And as I said in the beginning of this interview, I looked at your herb school for so long, was like, how can I do it? How can I get out there? I would love to hear what you guys got to offer this summer.
Yeah. So right now we're fully online, with COVID, but so this summer we're super excited because we will for the first time be teaching in person again. And we're doing something that I've wanted to do for years, which is to have a short, what we're calling an herbal immersion program, where people can travel and we'll have local folks as well, but we have people already signed up from, different states, that are going to come for a week and study with us in person, and come to Montana, which is just like gorgeous in the summer. And Missoula is a beautiful, this place is in my heart. So, but surrounded by mountains and rivers and, just really a lot of access to a lot of different ecosystems. And so we are going to go explore, we're going to go wildcraft, and we're going to go, I've already talked to the Forest Service, like getting all these things lined up with this Forest Service, and with, we're hoping for some private land as well. And we're going to be going to our medicinal gardens where people can harvest, but also take home plants. I love to share plants with people, and seeds as well. We won't have many seeds then, but we'll have lots of plants. So people can bring home baby plants, take them back to their gardens. We'll be going on herb walks, and we'll be doing medicine making, mostly in the field. So it's going to be super fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And
sounds amazing.
Yeah. And that's
really
July.
wonderful.
That's July 19th through the 23rd that we're
Okay. How many spaces do you have available?
That is a really good question, Mel. We're opening 20 spots, and we may do more than that. And, we don't want to be too impactful on the land. And so we're really cautious about how many folks we have with us. And it's already, people are signing up. So
I love it. I'm just going to toss this out there, and it might not be in your plans, but I mean, what about offering one of those a month during the summer?
Yeah, that is actually a fabulous idea.
Because I agree, you can't have really more than 20 without having, one, with COVID, too many people.
Right.
too, an impact on the land that's too dramatic. And, you know, there's so many different plants to explore each month.
So true. Yeah. And then I know, because we were thinking about, we're like, oh, but what about the roots? And what about the, you know, like,
totally. How do we get it all in? Can we do everything?
Exactly. Yeah.
I am so guilty of how do I do everything. It's terrible.
But that's not a bad idea. The once a month. I actually like that. I actually like that idea.
I think, you know, and if you're already almost full for July, I have a strong feeling that you may be able to be full for the other months as well.
Right. Yes.
There's no shortage in people wanting and needing to learn about herbal medicine, especially with people with so much experience and passion as yourself. So.
And we do always have people saying, oh, I want to come to Montana and learn about herbs. And so people do move here to go to our school, but it's really nice to just be able to still live where you're living and just come and have a visit, you know?
Yeah, so, absolutely. That's beautiful. So where can people find you? Like how do, online, social media, how are people able to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So our website, greenpathherbschool.com. And I have to say I am really proud of our blog as well. I have so much, I have worked, I don't even want to think how many hours, but years on our blog, right?
Right.
Great articles, great recipes, great information. So, I mean, even if you're looking for a place to learn more about herbs, that could be a really neat way to do that. So just greenpathherbschool.com. You can check out the blog, tons of free information and recipes. And then there's all the programs, you know, and so we do our big herbalist program. And then we do lots of other programs too. And we're working on some online self-paced programs as well, more for beginners. One for, like people who are really just getting into herbs. And another passion that I have that I've been doing for even longer than herbal medicine is fertility awareness, which is learning about the female fertility cycle and then using that information to either avoid pregnancy or to get pregnant. So I've worked for years and years and years with women and couples around that, you know, and both to get pregnant and to not get pregnant. And so I'm a certified teacher. So I also do a cycle awareness class where I pair, which is like another, I could swoon personally, like this is where, you know, I may be really geeky, but combining those two is like a huge passion for me. So combining the fertility cycle and herbs together is like, I have had so much joy doing that and have so much knowledge about that. And so combining those two has been really exciting for me. So I also have a class that's a webinar that's a like online self-paced class on that. Which is on the website. And I am driven to teach this to herbalists, you know. It's a pretty advanced, like it really is for herbalists and other health professionals, but also regular lay folks take it who just want to learn to use the method as well. And then you have that adjunct of the herbs on there, which is like the icing on the cake, you know, like how do you work with the cycle with herbal medicine? But it's an amazing tool for a practitioner also. Yeah.
That is something I will look into taking myself. I am enrolled in a Viva Rom's herbal medicine for women's course, but I've been enrolled in it for many, many years. And like it's there and I use it for reference, but I haven't gone thoroughly through the program. So I am really interested in checking out yours. That would be really, really wonderful.
It's much shorter. It's like 6 hours.
Aviva's is so in depth that it's like, ooh, I'm running a business. I'm doing, you know, like, hold on, I'm not a doctor. I'm just an herbalist, which is an honor indeed. So they can find you at greenpathherbschool.com, right?
Yeah.
And then you talked about YouTube. I didn't know you had a YouTube channel. What about YouTube and social media?
Yeah, so we do. We're on, you know, Facebook and we're on Instagram and then we're on YouTube. So on YouTube, we have all these garden videos and some of them are old, like, you know, you can see me years ago sitting in my garden talking about about an herb. And then some of them are more recent. And so there's some free downloads on the website as well. I have a book, 10 Healing Herbs, which is actually, this is a great time, like the spring. It's all about like how to grow them. There's a beautiful recipe for each one, beautiful photographs, and that's a free download on our website. But we also have the menstrual map, which is a visual I came up with about, how to use herbs through the female fertility cycle. And then I did a 1-hour free class on that's on our YouTube channel. And so there's a lot of free information on there. We have several longer, around an hour-long classes, and then we have some shorter classes. And what we've been doing most recently is some just real short medicine making. And what we've done is we've used those now because we're teaching online. So I incorporate them into my my real-time classes via Zoom. Right. So I use them for those, but we've also posted them online so that people can have access to them as well. So that making calendula oil, little video is on there, and lots of other things, as well.
That's so cool. So is it Green Path Herb School? Is that the name of your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Awesome. I will definitely be subscribing. You'll see the Herbalist Path because I've just started my YouTube channel. So kudos to you for getting up on YouTube years ago in the garden. I'm like, whoa, YouTube. Okay.
Right. So many things to do.
Oh, tell me about it. I know it can easily get overwhelming unless you're smart and choose not to allow that to happen. Yeah. Which for creative individuals so passionate and in love with herbs, it's like, well, at least it's a lifelong process. Right. So we're going to get ready to wrap it up. I would love to hear from you. Your biggest words of wisdom for somebody who is just beginning on their herbalist path. What would you want to say to them?
Basically, I think fundamentally what I feel is that herbalism is all of our heritage, right? Like we all have ancestors. Every single one of us have ancestors that use plants, that were herbalists. Herbalism is like the first medicine, right? And so I would say to trust that, like go with that belief and that feeling of like, it's your birthright, to use herbs and to learn about those. And so if it feels, if you feel drawn, like, yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah. I also want to touch base on your social media, just for those people that are into that kind of stuff. How do they find you on social media?
Yeah. So we have our Instagram account, and I apologize. I mean, if you look up Green Path Herb School.
Perfect.
You'll find it. But we have Instagram, and then we're also on Facebook, Green Path Herb School. So yeah.
And hopefully after our conversation before this podcast, there'll be even more plant pictures from you, because Elaine loves to nerd out on taking beautiful pictures of plants all the time, but does not like to put herself on social media. And I can totally relate. And I think we all love seeing the plants anyways. So
yeah, right. Yeah. I agree.
It's beautiful. Gosh, it's been really fun connecting with you finally. I'm so glad third time's the charm, because I would have been so mortified had I had to cancel again. So yeah, it's been really great to hear from you. And it's been really awesome watching the amazing transformation you've been doing with your online school. You have brilliant other instructors there. And as somebody who's learning to bring herbal education online as well, I commend you for all that work that you have done. It's really, really beautiful. And I love hearing your story and your green path, your herbalist path. It's been really, really, really beautiful. And I hope I get to connect with you more.
Me too. I would love that.
Yeah. And I hope that all of the people listening to this podcast will look into what you've got and at least download those 10 healing herbs from you, or the feminine cycle map. That sounds really cool. So check you out on YouTube. Yeah. It's been fun, Elaine. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mel. Yeah.
I guess that's that, though I could nerd out for hours. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day.
Thank you. You too.
Take care.
You too.
This has been the Herbalist's Path, where we're on a mission to inspire an herbalist in every home, again. Thanks so much for joining us. If you'd like to support our mission, please subscribe, rate, and review to help others find us. Together, we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. Wishing you all a lovely day. Bye for now.
It has been so much fun and so, I don't know, joyous watching all of my medicinal plant friends popping up in my garden, from the elecampane to the comfrey and the arnica. I love seeing these friends pop up. And if you are still trying to decide what to grow in your medicinal herb garden, you've got to grab my guide. It's all about the most essential herbs that every mom should know and should grow. So I teach you how to grow them and the many different ways that you can use them. If you want to grab the guide, go ahead. It's free, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of delight and use out of it. And there's a link to it in the show notes. I'm wishing you tons of happy medicine planting.